I'm just going to say the state of the lies are getting louder and louder and louder. Hello, people. It is Friday, and we're excited to be with you today. It is our Unraveling the News, and I have my buddy Bruce Poppy with me today. So let's kick the show off because it's going to be a fun one. It's the revolution, Bruce. How are you, my friend? Oh, you're muted. I cannot hear you.
All right. Yeah. So
let's start
it's
over.
Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. The same speech over and over and over again. Wash, rinse, repeat. That's what they do. It's this crazy. You hear these things and you don't realize it until somebody takes the time and puts it all together.
That's like a lot of editing. Those speeches are long, and you got to go through it and find the same thing. I mean, whoever did that is just phenomenal. And
oh yeah,
thank you for taking the time to do it, because it was last night the speech, right? And here we are. You already have this out today. Yeah. But the thing that struck me and probably a lot of people listening to that is the same promises again and again. So he's not getting anything done. He's making the same promises over and over because he's not getting it done.
Right. No, yeah, no promises made, promises kept situation with him for sure. Yeah, and it was I only watched a few minutes of it. Is all I could stomach. It was horrible.
It was on just as I was having dinner, and I'm like, do I want to watch that, or do I want to hold my dinner down?
Right? Why would you do that?
I wouldn't. And sure enough, there are many, many, many clips of the State of the Union, which was an unmitigated disaster by everyone's account. It was yelling and screaming, and was all about how much he hates Trump. And there just wasn't much substance there at all. Hard to watch. And yes, guys, I know we heard it yesterday. Oh. And then Bruce and I had this conversation earlier. It's well, what's the deal? Why do they have an avatar playing this role and making so many mistakes and really, playing dementia? Because if you had an actor in there, wouldn't you assume the actor would just play like normal and be powerful and be a great orator and so on and so forth? But no, it gets worse every time, which is really interesting. The actors are getting worse. I don't know. Are they running out of actors? Is that what's going on?
Who knows? It was. It's like I said. The only thing that can be is on purpose to be able to show people just the insanity, the lunacy, for those that even have any type of interest in paying attention whatsoever.
Right, and that was SG Anand's take. He said this is a military installation designed to completely embarrass and then ultimately destroy. So, I mean, and you see it today. You see it in the left stream media. They're trying to talk it up, but they're having a hard time too, because they're not buying it. They're not buying it anymore. They're starting to run away from it. So this is an interesting time. It was, I think, a turning point. I really look at this and I say, something's happening here that is different now. And right after this, you're starting to see things that are, we'll talk about some of the stories today, but there's some things that are changing already after this crazy speech last night.
I learned some things today, digging in, finding some interesting stuff. The entire, we've known for a very, very long time that the numbers, any number that comes from the government is cooked. It's fake, phony, and false. It's, fabricated. It's bullshit what it is. So all these numbers that they're touting, there's some reason behind that. And I learned a couple of things today.
There was, we talked about earlier this week too. You and I talked about earlier as well today. The 325,000 or 320,000, depending on who you listen to, immigrants that were flown here using the CBP Customs and Border Patrol One app. So they had already predetermined where they were going. They already got clearance. And they hopped on an airplane and came right into the United States in the middle of the night. Really, the buildup of these migrants at the border, because it's bad optics, right? So here they are flying them over the border and coming them in airports all around the country. And you see an airplane full of people. That's not going to make that much of an impact. But one here, one there, one here. 320,000 apparently is a very, very low, because it's an official number, right? It's a very low estimate. It's actually much higher than that.
100% it is. They've been doing that for a while.
Yeah.
For multiple years. How is that? That's the thing that really gets me, we know blah 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 blah. But I mean, how do people not? It's treasonous.
Oh yeah, it is.
Everything that these guys are doing are 100% treasonous. So they're not remembering their oath. Deputy for Freedom here, rememberingyourOath.com. They're not upholding their oath whatsoever. So.
Well, the whole thing is they're not following at all the Constitution, because if you were to do that, all these things that they're doing, so many of them wouldn't be legal, wouldn't be permitted. The question then becomes, is like, if we don't have any enforcement of the Constitution, effectively we have no Constitution.
Right.
Right.
Just a piece of paper. It's there's no Constitution. It's more constipation.
Yeah, and if you don't have any enforcement at the border, you have no border. Right. Victor Avila was our guest.
You got no country.
Exactly. And Victor Avila was our guest yesterday, and we were talking about that. And I asked them specifically about the Border Patrol and how they're feeling about it. And they're pretty much pissed off. That's not the job they signed up for. They signed up to protect the border, not to be the greeters to bring the illegals in and process them. Here's your credit card. Here's your cell phone. You're in. Go. You're all set.
To be the concierge,
Yep.
the Uber, Lyft drivers making sandwiches,
Yeah, so they're very unhappy, and there may be a rebellion in that organization before very long. I think the anger is going to boil to a certain point, and he made the point that a lot of them won't leave or won't violate the rules because they're afraid for their salary and they're afraid for their pension. And you and I had this conversation earlier, and it's like in 2020 when I decided to step up and start talking about this stuff, because I wasn't before. Not that I wasn't following it and believing it and involved in it. I was not talking about it publicly because I knew the moment I stepped up and started to say something, I would lose friends. They would unfriend me, no question. I would lose family members. That happened. And I would lose customers, like my consulting business, my coaching business. And sure enough, all of those things happened. But I made the calculation. I said, if I didn't do that, then what am I hanging on to? A business that won't be here because the country won't be here.
Right.
So, that was my calculation for me. And it was a very easy decision at that point to say, screw it. I got to come out. I got to start talking. In March of 2020, right after Newsom shut everybody down here, I came out and I changed my podcast. My podcast was Coach's Corner at the time. And I started talking about this stuff instead. And I know the viewership went down because the people who were used to me had no idea where my politics were. But when they started to get a glimpse of where it was, a lot of them left. So what?
Yeah.
So what?
Right. You'll find new ones, right? Everybody's been through that situation these past few years. We really find out who our real true friends are.
Right.
And just in family really has nothing to do with blood. There's, similar situations. I mean, thank goodness, knock on wood. My children are all, awake to a certain degree. And I haven't, had any personal situations with my children, but siblings, yes. Other people. It's just we go through these cycles in life where people, I grow, we grow, they grow in different directions. What's important to me now isn't as important to them, and it's just a changing of the guard, if you will, of our friends, of our tribe. Not that we're looking for all groupthink. I want to have dissension. I want to have different ideas, different viewpoints, unpopular as they might be, because that helps me learn and grow as well.
Yep. And this is the question that I would pose to the Border Patrol, the police officers, the lawyers, the judges, and all the rest of it. It's like you're hanging on to this idea of a pension, but if the country collapses and fails, that all goes away. You don't have it anyway. So what are you holding on to, really? You're holding on to a sandcastle, and the tide's coming in.
Yeah. Right. I mean, people talk about, your list, right? And they think, well, they're not going to eat me because I'm supplying them food. Eventually, they're going to eat you too.
Right.
Oh, that's what people have to realize. Eventually, they're going to come for you as well. So you might as well stand up, and then not only that, the truth and honesty, integrity, authenticity, you have to be able to live with yourself, right? So, I mean, I sleep great at night, knowing, saying and standing for the things I say. Otherwise, I couldn't deal with myself.
Well, you do your show Funky Fridays, right? I'm teasing.
Freaky
Fridays. I know. I was teasing you. I like funky too.
Yeah.
But, how about funky
Well,
and freaky Fridays?
yeah. No, you gotta have some fun too. You gotta have some levity.
You do.
That's, because if you take everything so seriously, man, your head will explode.
Hey,
I wrap my head in duct tape.
yeah, well, the truth is there's a lot of stuff that's out there that is serious, and we try to take a lighter view of it, and sometimes we bring you the hard truth of things, and sometimes it's not pretty. But here's the calculation for me. The calculation is simply I'd rather be informed than surprised, right? We know
Absolutely.
this bad stuff could happen, might happen. I'd rather be informed and know something about it than for it to pop up in front of my face and I'm not ready for it. So preparation
Absolutely.
being the key. I need to be informed to be prepared. It's part of the preparedness. It's like, yeah, you have bottled water, you have canned goods, you have your dry goods at home. No question. All those things are important. And also, you need to keep yourself well fed with information. And it's going to be challenging if this happens where the internet goes down. What's your backup plan? What do you got?
Right.
I got an AM radio at home. It runs on a battery, and I got a crank. I can crank it and keep it going as much as I want. Yeah,
exactly. Absolutely.
Right.
I've been watching some videos how you can make out of copper things some internet thing. Doug White sent me some videos about how I can get Wi-Fi out and make it out of nothing.
Yeah.
I'm buying a book on how to edible plants in case I have to go off and forage into the woods or there's somewhere, to be able to live off the land, learn some survival skills. Because you never know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, one gator can feed you for a long time.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to learn how to prepare it. You got to learn how to gut it and skin it and all that stuff, and then how do you cure it so you can meat will last a while. I mean, these are all important shit to know.
Yeah, and it's all the stuff that's been lost. And it's like, we're not meaning to scare anyone. It's just the truth of the matter is we're in uncertain times, and we'd love to be able to say, here's the path forward. Here are the 3 things you need to do. We really don't know because things are changing all the time. And here's the cool thing about this. Like, if you have people who say, I absolutely know what's going to happen next, tune them out. Because nobody does. 100%. There's too many variables, right?
Right. I mean, we can read the tea leaves, you can kind of see, you can kind of go some history. It'll teach us some things. You can, kind of, see through the fog, but it's still foggy. And unless you get right up on it, it's in front of your face. Things can change. Boom, just like that.
Denise is saying, all you need is one big hog. That's true, Denise. That will feed you for a long time.
Yeah. Lots
of bacon. I think bacon takes a little while.
I mean, some venison, some back. I mean, just look at Ted Nugent, right? He's in his middle 70s.
Yep.
Right? He's contrary to popular sex, drugs, and rock and roll thing, right? He never did any drugs, none of that stuff. He's been clean. Hunter, eats venison almost all the time. Duck. He's always lived off of the land as far as meat and protein. He's not one to go to McDonald's and grab a Big Mac or anything like that. So I mean, look at his middle 70s and he's just kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's some something behind that type of lifestyle.
Well, yeah, and we hope it doesn't come to that. Obviously, we still expect things to be changing. And one of the things we brought up was the benzene found in Clearasil and Proactive and things like that yesterday. And Lewis brought up a good point. He said, hey, this is a good thing that this is coming out in the public and it's in the public news because people will start staying away from these poisonous products. Right. And I think that's really true for our food supply as well. It may be the reason why so many food processing plants are getting blown up is because they're putting garbage out. One of the chicken processing farms, apparently, the eggs literally had plastic in them because of what they were feeding the chickens.
Good grief.
Good grief is right. But, farmers like everybody else, they are right to the thin line with their profit margin. And, the big suppliers don't pay them a lot for their product and they have to cut corners and they will cut corners. And who's going to know if we're feeding them feed with garbage in it?
Right.
Well, apparently it was showing up in the eggs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there was the feed, that story of the feed, widely known and not a conspiracy theory, depopulation Israel.
Well,
Not Israel. Israel, the fake state. but depopulation is real.
Yeah, and
it's
been in their outlines for years. I mean, if you go back and look at it, depopulation, they've been talking about as far back as I've seen, it was 1990s, but it probably goes even back further than that. It's kind of crazy. All right, shall we get into our terrible top 10? Dun, dun,
Yeah,
dun. We need an intro for
good
this.
ones in here. Good ones in here today.
Go ahead, Bruce. Give me an intro. Give me a drum roll.
Oh, I don't have my box set up. Yes.
There you go. So this
that
is
was a
terrible.
motorboat, not a drum roll.
Terrible 808 on X, worth following her account. She publishes this list every week, and we kind of grab it and say, hey, this is fun. We started doing it a little while back and thought it was a cool thing to do because it brings up so many topics of conversation. But before we go there, I should really take a moment here. Can't respond to everyone, but I get hundreds of emails a week. It's so fun. It's so much fun to see how people are perceiving the show and things we can do. And people are sending us stories all the time, things that they're finding. It's a lot of fun to have a community like this. So you patriots, we love you and thank you for all that you do. All right. Will this go anywhere? Tara Bull's list, number 10. The House passed the LAK and Riley Act requiring ICE to detain illegals who are charged with crimes. Where does this go, Bruce?
It's not the Lincoln Riley Act. It's not that one.
Lakin.
Lakin, right? Well, we'll see.
Trump's speech, right? And I think that's the end of it. It's a nice act. It's a nice gesture, but I don't think it goes anywhere. And even if it were to get passed, ICE isn't doing their job. They've been told to stand down. They don't deport. So then the question,
it'll never get through the Senate. I mean, crying shucks, it'll never see the light of day in Senate. So that's one of the things. These bills, a lot of them are just token gestures or get people on the record for voting. The big takeaway, the unraveling of this one is that every single Democrat voted against it. So it was all along party lines that this passed through the House.
Yeah, and we need more here. And if we're waiting for the government to act, you can see it's a non-starter. I mean, you guys should be seeing that now. If you're looking at this and say, well, this is a good act, this is a good act, it isn't going to go anywhere. And even if it were to pass, it still wouldn't go anywhere, right? Because ICE has been told not to deport anyone. So it then comes back, makes a U-turn. It comes back to who? We the people. We're going to have to do, and we talked with Victor Avila yesterday about that, and I asked him specifically, I said, where does this go? We can't go to the courts. Law enforcement's not on our side. They're actually against us now. They've been programmed to be against us. Where does it go? And I really think it's going to come back to our communities, right? So we will, like Bruce and I were chatting earlier today, we were saying, hey, you look at that 10-block radius. I think that was you said, right? A 10-block radius?
Yep.
Yeah, 10-block radius. You get to know all the neighbors, and maybe once a month everyone gets together. And what you do is everyone's got eyes on the neighborhood. And when people show up in the neighborhood that shouldn't be there, you get on your phone, you do a little phone tree, and everyone's notified. Hey, we'll meet this guy down at this corner. Everyone gets together. You go confront whoever's there that shouldn't be there, and you get rid of them. Right? It's going to have to be that. I don't think you're going to be able to call the police. They're not going to do anything. I don't think you're not going to be calling Border Patrol or ICE or what are you going to do? There's no safety net other than you and I. We will be the last straw. And, thankfully, this country has a Second Amendment. We're an armed citizenry. Gosh sakes. Anyway, we're a little off topic here.
A water pistol can assault somebody.
The water pistol, so could a water balloon.
Yeah.
Or a pillow. Sorry, Mike Lindell.
Hey, I'm not hitting anybody with my pillow, man.
No. Never hit with my pillow. They're not lumpy either. They're nice.
No, that's the best pillow ever. I swear. If you have not tried a My Pillow, we don't have no promo code or nothing. It is the best pillow. I swear to God.
Yeah, my experience with it was when he did his very first infomercials, the very first year, 10, 12 years ago now. I saw it. I bought it because he was speaking to me. He says, I've tried every pillow out there and none of them worked. And that was me. I spent up to $300 on a pillow. And at the end of 6 months, flat as a pancake. No support whatsoever. And then I said, all right, I saw this infomercial. It was $79 for the My Pillow at the time. They're $20 now, just as an example. And I bought it. And we've been using it ever since. I think we've got 10 or 15 of them at home. We've got them everywhere. It's just like we just
Never
keep buying
goes back.
more of them.
You just shake it up and it fluffs it back. It's brand new again.
You throw it in the washing machine. Yeah. Clean it up. Throw it in the dryer. Good as new. Yep. Number 9, Tucker Carlson calls Biden's State of the Union address the most un-American speech in U.S. history, and I don't think he's exaggerating.
It was, I mean, I've heard many people classify it as a campaign speech, not a State of the Union. I mean, I've heard that used un-American, before. There's certain things you can call it. It just becomes worn out. Anything these guys are doing are un-American. Every single thing that they're doing and promoting and talking about is un-American. And they're continuing to gaslight us concerning the democracy and everything else. The 5-minute thing, the same speech 3 years in a row.
Yep. So the narrative on the left is to turn people against this country, right? So if you're hearing it from the president that this country's this and it's bad, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad, and all these people on the right who love their country and their patriots, they're all bad, 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 bad. This is the messaging. This is what he wants. So this was very much in line with their narrative, which goes completely opposite of our narrative on our side. And you look at President Trump and look at the way he speaks about this country, how much he loves this country, how much this country's powerful, how much potential we have. It's a night and day difference in terms of messaging.
Oh, yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah, this is part of the game. They want to turn people against it. It's very un-American. If Trump did a speech like that, they would be tearing him apart today. Because the unwritten rule is you don't go after your predecessor.
Yeah.
And he spent all his time beating up on Trump. Right?
Yeah.
Hit after hit after hit. And it's like, oh, it's Trump's fault that the border's open. No, what did he do? On his first day in office, he signed executive orders that reversed all of the Trump policies, overrode them all, opened up all the borders. And Trump said it during his campaign in 2019. He said, if Biden gets elected, the borders will be opened and drilling will stop. And what happened? The borders were open. The drilling stopped on day 1.
Trump was right again.
Trump is right again. And he saw and he knew, and anyone who's paying attention would have known. But the narrative is strong, and the propaganda machine is in full force. And you see it coming from the top now. You see it from Biden. But what's interesting is that a lot of people are tuning it out at this point, which is really good to see. Even people on the left are like, I can't anymore. I just can't. I have people who are on the left who are like, can you tell me more about what's going on? Can you tell me more about Trump? And it's like, well, I just ask them a simple question. Were you better off in 2016, 17, 18, 19 than you are today? And every one of them, they can't say they're better today. They just cannot. Right. There's nothing about their life that's better today than it was back then.
Yeah.
You
100%.
could squabble over how much the gas price was. I think he says it was $1.79. Remember, that's just the national average price that they quote. It was never quite that low here in California. And you say, oh, it never got that low. It never got that low. In some places it was lower. Whatever the number is. It was a lot cheaper than, it's still at $5 here. $4.89, $4.90, something like that. Still $5 a gallon here in California. Why? So
to pad the pockets.
Yeah, and you got to look at the food, and you've got to look at all the situations. You got to look at the DEI in the companies. That was not a big thing back then. You've got to look at all the grooming that's going on in the schools, and luckily a lot of it is coming out. And we're now seeing it. We're seeing what Disney really is. And a lot of people are steering away, and they're keeping their kids away from all that stuff because it's indoctrination that they do not want. Goes against their values.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, we kind of need this period. I know we're going to look, it's hard right now. I get it. We're going to look back at this and say, my gosh, I don't know what the world would look like if we didn't have this. And you say, what are you talking about, Rob? Well, look at all the stuff that's being exposed. It was always there. We just never saw it. If this didn't happen, we wouldn't have seen it. Now we see it. So now we can make better decisions. Right? Yeah. From the food we buy, to the entertainment we consume, to the news that we consume, And you got to look at something like CNN or MSNBC. Podcasters like us combined 5, 10, 15 times the audience of left stream media. It's crazy. But there's a reason for it, because people want the truth. They want the authenticity. They want to know what's really happening. They don't want the narrative. Number 8, J.K. Rowling was reported to UK police for misgendering trans broadcaster as a man.
How dare she? Or he? It. Gosh, them.
It's a they, right?
Yeah, they through my heart, here's the thing. They always say, they say this, they say that. I want to know who they are. Now we're finding out who the hell they are.
Exactly. We're learning.
Bunch of idiots.
Yep. Yeah, and I think this is going to happen a little bit more before enough of us say, enough with this. One shot.
We'll see. I mean, they got some pretty important things to be talking about, to be discussing here over the next couple of months.
Oh, come on. Let's bring up the Brunson case. Come on. Let's get that one going, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know why they keep accepting it onto the docket. It just doesn't get heard. It's really interesting. It's like they don't want it to go away. And is it there's the silver bullet they're hanging into their holster and keeping it in their back pocket for when they need it? Maybe.
Who knows? I mean, it seems like a slam dunk to me. I mean, that's from everything I've read about that case and what they're asking that these guys, all of them, 300 and some plus of them, nearly
388 of them, apparently.
Yeah. Violated their situation by not, sending the electors back to the states for their investigation. Yeah. So,
2020, it ain't over yet.
Allegedly. No,
we can see a lot of these cases revolving around it, and it's clear that this needs to be litigated. We need to keep fighting this, and we're moving in that direction. Surely, it's very, very slow. I mean, I never thought the legal system would be so slow to have any wins, but I think what'll start to happen is once, 1 or 2 wins happens, then that'll start the momentum in the right direction, and we'll start to see a lot more of them. And I think it was a good thing what happened with the Supreme Court justices yesterday, because now, Mr. Biden.
Well, I mean, I don't care favorable one way or the other. I just want them to interpret the law in the Constitution. That's do their job.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing that's kind of got bent, out of this whole situation is judges are supposed to be independent, nonpartisan. But now I don't know how long it was, probably during Obama, maybe just before that. But now every judge, it's a Clinton appointed judge. It's a Bush appointed judge. It's a Trump appointed judge. So they're all labeling them.
They're all politicized,
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So that should not have anywhere near, that the blindfold, this girl over Lady Justice, she's got one eye peeking out to see what's going on.
Yep.
That's not the case, and that's part of that's a huge problem here, because that institution, as that we're supposed to be leaning upon, is supposed to be nonpartisan, and it's anything but.
Well, it's anything but because of the pressures that these judges are under, right? They wield power, and any lever of power, you're going to have powers above that trying to control it. And I think that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing the judges not acting according to their oath of office. They're not following the letter of the law. They're going against the Constitution, which they all know is wrong. Right? They're not stupid. These people didn't get there because they're complete idiots. They may do things, and politicians, I look at the same way. It's like some of them, they're all lawyers. Most of them are lawyers. They're intelligent people, and they make decisions that you and I go, what in the heck? And it's like, well, we don't go out there in public and say stupid things.
Well, that's the blackmail has been the name of the game in DC for a very long time. Honeypot, one way or another. They're all compromised at some point. So, I mean,
you could literally take the entire government and ignore it, because that's not where the power center is.
No.
Power center is hidden. These are people that are not elected. These are people who are wealthy. These are people who are pulling the strings. And we oftentimes don't even know who they are, because they'll never show their face in public.
Right.
Right.
They call them the donor class,
class, the elites, or go higher than that even. And you got the Vatican,
Absolutely.
you got the KM, you got, you know what I mean? It's like you got the Schwabs and the Rothschilds, and you can go all the way up that ladder and find where the real centers of power are. They're certainly not our politicians. So we can get all upset
Right
about the
now.
politicians, but they're just puppets, really. And you can see that because they go to Washington, and boy, they're gonna make changes, they're gonna make stuff happen. And how many of them? MTG, Lauren Bobbert, maybe Bobbert.
And she's
Gates.
not. I do have to give some props to Anna Paulina Luna
Yeah.
because I was very critical of her during the primary season. Amanda Mackey's who I endorse here locally for my congressperson, but since she's been there, she's saying and doing the right things. I wish that they would be more vocal on the 2020 steel and the J6 situation, but overall, I give her a B plus, for her performance there so far. I mean, it's only been a couple of years that she's been there, and we'll see what happens. I mean, the longer that they stay there, the worse they get.
Yeah.
I mean, just take, for example, AOC, right? Bartender, broke his F, didn't have nothing, $175,000 a year. Now I read somewhere the other day that she's worth over $100 million. How the heck, and the joke last night was that Nancy Pelosi took a day off from insider trading to attend the State of the Union address. So it's crazy that that was never meant to be a lifetime position. That's why we need to burn the whole thing down.
Yeah, we hear a lot about how these politicians go up there and all of a sudden they become extremely wealthy, and we hear it now in the music industry too. The music industry, they say, we're going to make you very famous, very popular. Here are the rules. Here's what you need to do. And some of them are walking away. And even though they have better talent, they have better songs, they have better voice, they have better everything, they get nowhere because the industry didn't accept them because they didn't, play by the rules, literally. And I think it's the same with the politicians. And if they play by the rules, they get exceptionally wealthy really quickly. Right? They get really popular. They get everything that they want. They're given houses. They're given, transportation, anything that they want. Really, they live like royalty. But they got to play by the rules. The moment they stop playing by the rules, they're kicked to the curb.
I mean, not that it means anything, but I mean, talking about the entertainment industry, the list came out, I think, today or recently about the highest paid actors.
Yep.
You'll never guess unless you've seen the list who's on top of the list.
I wouldn't even begin to guess.
Adam Forkin Sandler last year, 2023, made $78 million.
Wow.
He eclipsed Tom Cruise and people like that. So what the hell is Adam Sandler doing? How is he getting paid?
He's got a production company, so he may be a little bit of an anomaly with that. Because he's producing movies and not just starring in them.
He was close to $20 million higher than anybody else, the second person on the list. Yeah. So I mean, he's but they're all going down. I mean, people that go against the system, like Prince, he was going against, that's why he changed his name to artist formerly known as Prince. He went through all these games trying to break out of the system. That once he realized what it was. I mean, that's
Michael Jackson was the same way, trying to tell us, and through his music and his lyrics, and because the climate hasn't changed in 100 years or more. Right?
Are these new ones? Yeah. Or are they the continuing ones?
Yeah, new climate change regulations, which basically don't allow you to live your life the way you want to live it, right? I love the fact that we used to have plastic straws wrapped in paper, and they banned those, and now we have paper straws wrapped in plastic.
It's because the turtles are becoming cocaine addicts, washing up on the shore with straws up their nose.
And you have the paper straw, and if you don't drink your drink fast enough, the paper straw goes.
Oh yeah, I'll ask. There's a few restaurants around here that still play the paper straw game, and they, you want a straw? Like, no, thanks. I'll sip right out of the cup. I don't play the paper straw thing for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's nonsensical. I mean, the trillions of dollars that has been spent on this, I'm all for innovation and, using some green energy. They want to make us Republicans or conservative, whatever label they want to put on us, as we hate the planet. We just need more and more bigger engines, more smoke. And I'm just a smoker, driving my diesel 4x4 down the truck, just blowing smoke out the back. That's not the case. We're for responsible stuff.
Right.
But I mean, this technology, while it's still in its infancy, it's just not feasible for the masses yet. I mean, that's just where or they're withholding, going down that road, the free energy from Tesla, all this other stuff. They're withholding, for profits.
There's a fellow who built a car that runs on water, which obviously they have the osmosis machine right in there, and it creates the hydrogen, and off you go. And there are hydrogen cars on the market, but there's no infrastructure for hydrogen. I've been wanting to buy a hydrogen car for years. The moment I can, I'm going to buy one, because that is a clean technology. Not only that, you fill the hydrogen machine up with water, and you make the hydrogen at home using a little bit of electricity, and you have a little compressor that fills up the tank. It looks like a scuba tank in the car. So if you had hydrogen stations all over the place, it would take, it would be filling up just as fast as gas. Shh, fill it up, boom, and you're back on the road again.
Right.
Not hard to do, right? And instead we invested in electric, which was the wrong move. Electric still has to be generated somehow, and solar's not going to do it, wind's not going to, right? And you still have all that going on. And then these batteries, you can't recycle them, because the moment you crush them, they explode. And they're very toxic. So I don't know, we went completely down the wrong path now, and now there's a lot of pushback on that. Ford is bailing on the EVs, right? They're realizing nobody wants them, because they're recognizing, I can't sit here for 8 hours to charge this thing up. If I'm going to Vegas, it's a 400-mile trip. I go 200 miles and I got to sit for 8 hours to go another 200 miles is crazy.
No. I mean, it's not just Ford. Many of the car manufacturers, and Biden was touting a UAW and this Belvedere, blah blah blah, this and that and the other. It's not functional. It's not working. I mean, Tesla's got a good thing, but yeah, long term, for mining this lithium out of these mines in Africa and using alleged fossil fuels, to make the stuff work. It just no. And then from a personal experience, driving the multiple times I've driven across the country for Truth Tour, going to California and back and forth, all these windmill areas, these wind farms, as I'm driving through, about half of them aren't even working.
They don't even spin. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not spinning on purpose. They broke. I mean, I'm having in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that this whole electric thing, this generation of electricity is a farce. If they've already using the free technology, the Tesla technology, and they're just faking us out and charging us all kinds of money for stuff that we don't need to pay for. No,
and like you said, if you were able to pull the energy out of water in the form of hydrogen, we did that in high school class, right? Osmosis, right? That's what we did, pull it out. So if you were able to, was that osmosis? Was that really the thing? I might be getting it confused. The chat room will correct me. They're better at science than I am. You would put a little electrode, and then the hydrogen would come out, and then the teacher would light the hydrogen on fire to show you, it's explosive, it's power, it's energy coming out of water, of all things. So we have that, and we have abundance of water, although in California they keep trying to tell us there's no water, there's no water, there's no water. There's a ton of water, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and didn't that guy elections all over the world for decades, and you don't think they want to control what's going on here? Come on. Even this is a story that we talked about even on the Gateway Pundit, right? Former CIA guy, Brennan, came out and said, the intelligence community is going to withhold information from Trump during his briefings because he's the nominee, right? And they're supposed to be getting intelligence briefings as a run-up to the elections and have them be aware and up to speed of what's going on. So he came out and said, they're going to withhold information from Trump, Yep. So they're already looking and planning to obfuscate this whole entire election system. So
then there's also saying if they win Congress back, they will not certify Trump if he wins the election. He would not be certified to be president. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't think it's going to go. They can't. We can't. And we've said this from many people have said this. You can't go forward from 2020 until you fix 2020.
Right.
And we know it's been happening, but that was the major shock in all type of situation. But until you fix 2020, you can't go forward. right? 2022 was a shit show.
Okay,
And
so you and I had a great conversation about this morning, right? And basically both of us are on the same page with it. And we said, okay, if they do hold an election and Trump loses, what happens to the country?
It could end up being a civil war.
Right.
There's going to be massive civil disobedience because I'm surprised that the Patriots, though, so long have kept their powder dry, if you will, to this point.
Yep.
We've had the patience of Job.
Now, if Trump wins, what happens?
Then all the leftist, crazy Marxists are going to be triggered, and they're going to want to not keep their powder dry anymore, if they have any powder. Do they have powder? Unless they powder their noses, the drag queens. I don't know.
They have Molotov cocktails and things like that, and they like to burn things down. That's their game. Pallets of bricks just kind of show up unexpectedly in the middle of the road. There's that kind of stuff that goes on. But I think you're going to end up with civil unrest one way or another. So maybe the best outcome is that we avoid the election altogether. Maybe.
Absolutely.
I don't know. It doesn't seem feasible. I think everyone, and Lewis is on this side too, says, there will be no election this fall. We're not going to get there. Things are going to be changed before that. Starting to look like that. Dominoes are certainly wobbling. If they're not falling, they're certainly wobbling uncontrollably at this point.
Well, we'll know when is the conventions are supposed to be happening. Isn't the Republican one in June or July or something?
Yeah, somewhere between June and August they normally are. So they're a few months before the election. So what is
the Democratic one? That's the one I'm curious about, because that one is going to be held in Chicago, and the Chicagoans, the native Chicagoans, are pissed off about all the sanctuary city and them being left behind for the illegals, and so it's going to be a powder keg over there in Chicago. Doing,
and you've got a lot of trafficking happening down in Florida.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the sunshine. I mean, there's it's not, we're not immune, from that stuff. We have Disney right here. There's been, people disappear all the time. The numbers are insane. Yeah. And the Department of DCF, they call it here, Department of Children and Families. It's like the child care protected. It's criminal and corrupt.
As it is all over the country. It's not just in that area. Kind of everywhere. Yeah. All right, let's talk Neumi for a quick moment here. Just do a little spray because we need a little break, a little refreshment, if you will, to get us through the show. Always helps to do it halfway through. I know a lot of people are putting the spray and keeping it quiet. They give themselves a little shot or two. Ooh, Bruce is really going to town on it. That's why you look so much better. You're doing more than I'm doing. I got to do that too.
If you're in a hot climate, stick it. Here's a life hack. Put it in the fridge, and then it's nice and cool and refreshing. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
I keep mine. Usually, I have one bottle here by the TV or in my office, and then I have another bottle in the bathroom. So when you wake up in the morning, you can swish right after you brush your teeth. You just swish with the Nutra swish right in the bathroom. So twice a day is what I like to do it. And there's times I'm in a place now where I'm doing a lot of physical stuff, a lot of aches and pains. I'm upping my dosage to 3 times a day.
Awesome. So we're talking about Neumi Skin, people. This is a glutathione spray, and it is for external use. You can spray it on any part of your body. Helps with wrinkles, helps tighten your skin, helps lighten your skin, helps remove liver spots and things like that. And Bruce mentioned Nutra Swish, which is a product you take internally. A couple of capfuls, swish it around, then you swallow what's left. It's okay. It's a nanoparticleized glutathione, and they've added turmeric to it to help with inflammation. So inflammation is what causes a lot of the aches and pains. And then for the ladies, we have Neumi Hers, and this helps with that time of the month, helps with mood swings and all the different things that go on that time of the month. And if you're premenopause or postmenopause and experiencing hot flashes, this apparently, I can't speak from personal experience, but apparently what we've been hearing is it stops the hot flashes usually within 10 minutes they're gone. Again, 2 capfuls under the tongue, squish it around. It's absorbed right into the bloodstream sublingually, and it solves a lot of the women problems that time of the month. Also increases libido, guys. If you want to get it for your lady, that would be a cool thing. You can go over to renegademedia.tv/energy, and you can get your hands on these products there. Or scan the QR code that is currently populating your screen. All right. Ronna McDaniel was out. Finally. What do you think? Good or bad?
I think it's good. I mean, yeah, she was, did nothing but lose ever since she took over, lost all these elections, and just seemed to have an extravagant lifestyle, taking all the money and doing whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, and you got to remember the apple probably doesn't fall far from the tree, so she's probably not the most integrous person that we know.
No, not at all. And very much into the rhino world, and that's so it needed to change. It needed to be flipped over. And Michael Whately was actually the one that is now the RNC chair. He was recommended personally by Trump, and also his daughter-in-law. Not daughter by blood, but daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, is now the co-chair. So now you have a huge shift in the RNC. Instead of being anti-Trump, they're totally pro-Trump. And they've already started raising, I think she started out this morning revealing a check for $100,000. Like, we've got to raise a lot of money, and here's how we're getting started. So I think it's in good hands now. I think this should be good. Of course, the words always sound good, but we will watch the actions to see if they're matching the words, right?
Yeah. I mean, Lara is Eric's wife.
Right.
So yes, I don't know much about this Whately guy. So we'll see. I mean, anything can be better. It's got to be better than Romney.
Yeah, she played favorites. She didn't support MAGA candidates. She withheld money. And after a while, the donors gave up. And that's why the RNC has no money right now, is because the donors didn't want to give money into that system. It was very corrupt. And you look at her expenses. I mean, she spent $70,000 on flowers. Huh? Limousines, first-class hotels. I mean, all this stuff that, had nothing to do with the elections. But she was living a lavish lifestyle with all of this, spending all this money. And the candidates weren't getting any. And that's their goal. That whole thing was supposed to be funding the candidates and helping them get reelected. Yeah. So
I'm still of the mind that do not give any money to the RNC. You got to individually to the candidates themselves.
Right.
And only after you've done your due diligence. The only person I've ever donated money to in my entire life, political career, is I gave $50 to Donald Trump in his first campaign, and so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
The first campaign donation I made was to Rand Paul, believe it or not. Yeah. So we'll see. She took over today, so Ronna McDaniel is gone. Thankfully, her and Nikki Haley, we'd never have to say those names again. I'll be very happy, and I can't wait to never have to say Nancy Pelosi's name again.
Well, yeah, we'll see. So the only negative, I'm just surmising here that the left their heads are going to explode because there's a Trump now heading up the RNC.
Yep.
A Trump by marriage, nepotism, all this, there's all these things. These things are going to start flying. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, Lara Trump is an interesting character because I think her background is marketing and campaigning, and she was all into that world. She's also somewhat of a musician. She's a singer. She's one of those people with a lot of talent, and she's like you and I. We do whatever's required, right? So we'll jump in and do many different things. We wear probably too many hats sometimes. Makes her head tip over.
No, she did a good cover of the Tom Petty song.
Yep. And of course, she's a Trump, so she got bashed for it. But the truth is in the pudding. The product is a good product, and she's been doing good work. So I have high expectations. I mean, I don't have anything negative to say about it. I think it's really good. We're moving in the right direction. And again, guys, you look at this whole picture, and there's a domino here and a domino there, and some are falling, and a lot of them are pretty wobbly, and they're all going to start to fall. And when we get enough of them to fall, the whole house of cards collapses, and it'll be up to us to rebuild it. And these are the first building blocks that we're putting in for the future.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see. But do we really even need a RNC and a DNC? Just eliminate the parties altogether. The two-party system, the binary choice, the 1 and 0 in the matrix. Do we really even need that?
Well, we have a no labels party coming up. It reminds me of, you remember the no name brand? You'd give a can that was just say corn or potatoes or whatever.
Yeah. White box, black lettering.
Yep.
Yeah.
No name brand. Of course, it was a brand anyway. The no name brand was a brand.
Yeah, generic brand. Yeah, but it's just a white box. It reminds me of the government cheese and peanut butter and stuff like that.
Is that still around? Do they still have the no name brands or the?
I haven't seen one in like forever. It would be great, a nostalgic type of thing to bring it back. You know?
It didn't work then. It's not going to work now. And I think that's what this no labels party is. And they're looking for their candidate, which we both assume is going to be who?
Nikki Haley is what I was throwing out there.
Yeah, because she's already been talking with them. So it appears that is probably my guess why she stayed in the primary longer for name recognition. And that's the only reason that she would stay in there is for name recognition, because if she's up against Trump, they're talking about her on the media. And you need that. You need that name recognition. So now she jumps over to this no labels thing. She doesn't have to win any primaries. No primaries. She's just the candidate. She's on the presidential ballot.
Yep. No, this has been going on for a long time now. Every time a third party tries to gain some traction, the two major ones, the jackass and the elephant, end up, bringing it down. And I've even mentioned on my show a while back, a week or two ago, that there is a third party rising up, and it is gaining traction all over the world. And that third party is we the people. Right. We need to do away with these parties and just be we the people. So that's the only third party that I'm in support of.
There was a value to having two parties because they would cause gridlock and not make changes too quickly, which is actually very good for the country. Right. And what you started to see is now that we have a uniparty, the changes are happening really quickly. Because forever I would tell people, forget what's happening in Washington. Everything happens. It's so slow. By the time it reaches you, it'll be years down the road. That's the way it used to be.
Yeah.
And then, you look at 2020 and we're shutting everything down. Boom, it happened in a day. Right. You were impacted directly, almost immediately. So there's benefit to having punch counterpunch as far as two parties, but not the way it is right now, because it really is just one party.
Right. And the other scenario, about keeping that gridlock situation is, say the election does happen in November, Trump wins, but they lose the majority in the House and then in the Senate. So then you don't get, then they're going to spend their entire lives trying to tear him down again. So nothing gets done anyway.
Yep.
So that's why, another reason I don't think we can go forward until we burn the whole thing down and start over.
Well, you have to have fair elections. You have to have transparent elections. And we're going to talk a little bit here about what happened in Vermont. Sort of an interesting story, because they will always test. Lewis talked about this. The Ballot Harvest thing started in California, and they tried it and it worked and nobody complained, and they rolled it out in 2020 nationally. It was everywhere at that point. And here's what they tested in Vermont. This is going to be an interesting story. They tested a new algorithm. What? Yeah, they tested a new algorithm in Vermont, in the election in Vermont, that Nikki Haley won. Kind of funny that they tested it there, and that's the only election she won.
Well, she did win D.C. too.
Well, yeah. There are no Republicans in D.C. They're like dinosaurs there. They don't exist, right?
They're in jail. They're in the gulag there.
Yeah, they're in the gulag. D.C. is not worth even mentioning, not even talking about. So on Super Tuesday, the Democrats did a dry run of a new voter tabulation algorithm. Remember, this is the algorithm that gets programmed into the computers, and this is the fractional voting. Remember when in 2020, Michael Lindell had figured out that when you vote for Trump, Trump doesn't get a whole vote. He got 0.75 of a vote. When Biden got a vote, he got 1.25 of a vote. What now? My vote is not a whole number? No, your vote is not a whole number. It's 0.75. And that's an algorithm that runs, and that keeps the balance there. And they lost it when Hillary Clinton ran in 2016. Why? Because they didn't program it high enough. They chose the wrong numbers. Way they're known to man in 2020. Now they've got a new algorithm out. This algorithm allows a certain percentage of precincts to report before it begins to work. Now, why would that be important? Because when you start counting ballots, you start getting into something called a trend, right? So you count enough ballots and you go, this guy is ahead. Well, it's pretty much going to be the same all the way. It's not really going to change much. We got this batch, this batch, this batch. It's pretty much they're all going to resemble within a certain percentage, but they're pretty much going to resemble. So the algorithm now waits for enough precincts to report before being activated. So what it's doing, it needs to see how many votes it might need to change and not to look like a totally implausible and ridiculous win. Because you could say every vote for Biden is equal to 10, and for Trump it's a 1. But that would be ridiculous, right? People go, that didn't happen. So they got to keep it close. So this is how they're doing it. So here are some photos of, let me put the photos up here so you can see them. These are some
photos.
That's
why I'm talking about the trends that you're talking about. That's why when like the polls close at 7 o'clock, at 7:05, they're calling races because they're looking at the trend.
They're looking at the trend, right? And the trend, generally speaking, in a fair and free election will not change much. It'll vary a little bit, but it won't change much.
Right.
Right. So if you look at these pictures here, excuse me, 89% of the voting precincts reporting in the Republican primary in Vermont at 10:13 p.m. So that's the photo on the left. So 89% reporting at 10:13. Now, if you look at the photo on the right, 10:17, 4 minutes later, now there's only 76% reporting. If you look at Nikki Haley, she had 30,427 votes at 10:13. And she went up to 32,149 4 minutes later with less precincts reporting. So it doesn't make any sense, right? Donald Trump, what did he have here? He had 28,842. 4 minutes later, 29,745. So he went up just a little bit. So you can see the algorithm at work here. So Trump was closing in on Haley with her lead of only 2.5 points, and 4 minutes later at 10:17 it changes to 76% reporting. How in the world does that happen? With her now having a much bigger lead at 3.7 points and an eventual win. How, you ask, can her lead go up 76% reporting when at 89% it was a lot less of a lead? Why did the reporting precincts go down and her lead go up? These were dry runs meant not to call too much attention, which is why they were done in a small state primary and a Senate primary in California, right? We now believe with such an algorithm, and if it starts an uprising, 10 million military-age males with no allegiance to America and contempt for Americans will be all too happy to help quash them for citizenship. You can believe this or not, but one thing I can guarantee, and this is a guy on X that I'm quoting, is something big will happen. It will have to do with the election. It will cost thousands, if not millions, of American lives. I don't know if that's actually true. That's a guess. But, we talked about it. It's like the election is going to be contentious no matter which way it goes. I mean, I think that's a reality.
More, and every time one comes around, because we can see the steel, we know the information, we know the playbook, how it's all unfolding, but yet nothing really has been done to fix it on a large scale. You have these small little victories, little places, little changes going on. And even now Mike Lindell's coming out, hugely and saying he's got some big announcement coming up again, his plan. They want paper ballots everywhere. So they're working on all these counties, over 3,000 counties, going county by county, to try to make some changes. unless you can get rid of the machines and have paper ballots, like everybody's been saying, same day voting, ID. That's the only way we're going to, get through this and have, transparent, free, fair elections.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said they went into the voting center for the primary, and they asked them about the machines. Are these machines connected to the internet? Oh, no, ma'am, they're not connected to the internet. Not at all. There's no connection to the internet whatsoever. Just run your ballot through, and then it prints out your official ballot. And then where do you put the official ballot? Oh, you put it over here in this basket. And then what happens to it? Well, then we run it through it. Uh-oh. Tabulator. Oh, is that connected to the internet? Uh-huh. And where does that information go? Ooh, the voting results go out of the country? This company called Seidel? And they get manipulated and massaged way off site? Out of sight? And then we get delivered back an Excel spreadsheet with numbers, and there's no way to track where those numbers came from? Oh, that's how it works. Huh. Interesting.
Right. I know. I mean, there's even, grumblings of that, internet connectivity in the South Carolina primary. There's multiple locations, multiple people reporting. They go to put their thing in. Oh, you can't, we don't have no internet here, so you can't run your thing through the tabulator. Well, they're not even supposed to be connected to the internet.
Correct.
So you fold your ballot up, you put it in some other slot, which looks like a shredder. So those were reported this last time around just a couple weeks ago in South Carolina.
Yep. Yeah, and that's just the whole thing. It's like, you get the machines. The machines are literally a black box. You get zeros and ones happening in there, and you could be standing right next to the machine, like you could be standing next to your computer. You have no idea what's going on in that computer. I guarantee you don't know what's going on in that computer. You go, hey, my computer crashed. Well, why did it crash? If you knew what's going on, you would know why it crashed. Yep. Right? The rat and the mouse are having a fight in there. Maybe that's what you don't know. It's a black box.
Or your fans are dirty.
Yeah, your fans are dirty.
That's I solved the problem in my computer crashing because my fans were dirty.
Yep, it was getting overheated. So yeah, that's the thing. And you look at it from that perspective, and you go, well, we don't know. And in these voting machines, you have digital machines. Remember, anything digital can be hacked. And at the end of the day, they get an Excel spreadsheet back with numbers in it, which have no trail, an audit trail. You can go back and look at how they arrived at these numbers, especially if you don't have paper ballots. So, it's one of those things. And that whole thing in Maricopa, where they spent months going over the ballots and auditing and everything, that thing ended up coming up inconclusive. It was so bad they couldn't conclude who won the election because the things were so messed up. Literally should never have been certified.
Yeah.
And they went after that company, and they actually disbanded the whole the company and destroyed the company that did that audit. Just to give you an idea.
Yeah, and you mentioned California too. They're the same thing. Katie Porter, right? In California, just recently.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Steve Garvey, Adam Schiff thing. There was all kind of shenanigans.
Well, we saw the numbers shifting there. No pun intended. Changing there as the results were coming in, and it's like, yeah, no question. It's people in California. It's like we've kind of given up a little bit because we've got permanent mail-in ballots. It's never going to go away. It's law now. You'd have to get somebody in there to change that law, and you're not going to do it because you have those mail-in ballots, and then everything's counted on Dominion machines in California. Except for Shasta County, who said they're going to do paper ballots only for the presidential. Well, that'll be interesting. Trump will win that county and nothing else. Should stand out like a sore thumb. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Right. Wasn't there some also lawsuit that they were trying to go and you say you can't do that? It's a state law. You have to use the machines or some crap like that.
Yeah, they tried. It's still in court, from what I understand, has not been decided yet. So my guess is by the time the elections come around, it'll probably be decided, and they'll probably have to go back to machines. But, if you start out with a paper ballot, maybe we have something to talk about. I don't know. Kind of feels good. Have to find it. All right. Let's jump ahead to this for 1 minute, and then we're going to jump into our next story. There's a guy on X that's really worth following. Guy needs some hair, but Bruce Poppy, 1776, if you're on X at all. And I think you should be at this point. There's a lot going on there. That's really a lot of fun.
Oh, it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, certainly one of the best places now to find instant news, things that happen as it happens. A lot of citizen reporters out there putting stuff out, almost to the point where if you're watching Gateway Pundit or someone like that, it's almost 2 days ahead in some cases. It's crazy how far ahead it is.
X are far ahead of Gateway Pundit. Yes, correct. Yeah, because I see stuff on X, and then a day or two later, I'm seeing it on Citizens Free Press,
Right.
Gateway Pundit, the slaynews.com, all these other different websites after it's already been on X. So it's been crazy. Yes.
Yep. All right, Bruce, tell us about pets and healthy pets and all that good stuff.
Well, we talked earlier, about the benzenes, all these different things. The food industry is horrible, and the pet stuff is even more. So we control or have control over that. We've talked about this, almost ad nauseum, and people who are not coming on board, it's at your own peril, really. You can only talk about so much. The new people, the Pet Club 247 has been significantly impactful on my own personal pet's life. We have almost 17 or 16 plus year old Chug, a Chihuahua Pug mix, all kinds of issues. We were traveling on the Truth Tour, allergies. Just do some research. Go to healthyswitch.petclub247.com, healthyswitch.petclub247.com, and just check into it. Just look it for yourself. There's videos, testimonials, research, white papers, all the sciencey stuff. And the best thing you can do is try the stuff out. Worst thing that happens is you don't like it, you can call the company and get your money back. So go healthyswitch.petclub247. Everything is sourced and made here in the United States of America, which is another fantastic thing. And they're not a publicly traded company, so you don't have to deal with BlackRock, Vanguard, those types. And there's also, if you can be a voice for the voiceless. Pets don't have a voice, so they don't respond to like the placebo effect. They just know they get better, and their bodies are working better. So that's why I am a wholehearted supporter of this thing. And you can be a voice for the voiceless. You can turn this thing into a side hustle. You turn your passion for healthy pets into a little bit of a side hustle. You can learn that. You can get the information on the website or email my wife, Natalie at switch-usa.com, Natalie at switch-usa.com. And
Awesome. I just ordered the Enforce. I want to give that a shot too. So I just ordered that yesterday, actually. And I had to get more super sauce because you know who, if he doesn't get his super sauce, oh my God, there's no peace in the house. It's just the way it is.
that's a good looking kitty there.
That's a good looking, nearly 15-year-old kitty. Yeah, he's in great shape now. He's just,
I jacked up when I had my surgery for my pacemaker replacement.
Mm-hmm.
I doubled the dosage of the Enforce, and my doctor was amazed because I did like a 2-week follow-up or a 1-week follow-up. I can't remember what it was, of how quickly it was healing. And I didn't have, he said it's going to be bruising and all that, and I didn't have any of that stuff.
Wow.
Because I doubled up on my dosage of the Enforce, and that's the only thing that I did differently. So I healed up, very, very quickly. And I'll take my shirt off and show you. No, I'm kidding.
This is a G-rated show, Bruce. G-rated show.
That's for Poppy After Dark.
Is that your evening show? Poppy After Dark. I love it.
Visit my OnlyFans page. No, I'm kidding.
Brennan says, hey, Mr. Trump dear, you're not going to get any. He had documents in his bathroom at Mar-a-Lago. Not true. Not true. He had a special room. FBI approved. FBI even had him change the lock on it. And they had Secret Service guarding it at all times. Who had the documents in the bathroom? In their garage, by their Corvette. Unguarded. Unsecured. Had them illegally, by the way. Because as a senator, you have no business to have classified documents at all. And as a vice president, you have no business having classified documents. The only one that has the right is the guy they charge, the president. Can't make this stuff up. No. Can't.
I mean, and it's coming out too. It's been surmised that the reason that this raid happened was that they were looking for the portfolio of the declassified information just before he left office about the Russiagate stuff.
Yep.
So because they didn't want to get busted with their with all that stuff.
It was actually the binder they were looking for was the information on Fast and Furious that was going to implicate them all, and including Obama, and they never found it. Apparently, they still haven't found it. This is why they're pursuing this. And that's why they said Trump stole it. They went through Melania's underwear drawer because that's where you keep that kind of thing. Crazy. Some of these stories, you just have to, laugh at them because it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It just doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It's comical.
Yeah. So was Biden supposed to use the word illegal during his speech? It kind of got people upset. Listen to his response.
Do you regret using the word illegal to describe immigrants last night, sir?
Well, I don't regret it. Technically not supposed to be here.
Technically, I wasn't supposed to be here.
He says, or was he talking about the illegals? Yeah.
He was talking about the word illegals. He wasn't supposed to use that. He was supposed to use the word undocumented.
Right. Sure. Right. No, that's their, and we continue to push because it's not compassionate, to call them illegal because they crossed the border illegally, and they became criminals once they crossed the border illegally. Well, they're not illegal aliens, though. We can't be so.
Well, there's a question about the illegalness of it, right? Because if you think about January 6th, I was talking to Lewis about this the other day too. If you think about January 6th, who let them in? Capitol Police invited them in. So how would you know it's a restricted zone if the people who are there to protect it are inviting you in? Thereby, at that moment, it's no longer illegal. Same with the border. If they're inviting you in, they're processing you in, you're not running away. You're following the law of that moment, the rule of that moment, and you're in. So are they really illegals? Good question. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. Somebody in the chat might know.
I would think that if that's the case, then the people who are inviting them in are the criminals.
Yes, there you go. Now you're hitting something. Good.
And then the people who are just following orders, their upline guys, their higher ups, their bosses, their administrators, the heads of these departments of human smuggling, are the real criminals.
Right.
I mean, that's just super simple.
So the J6
can't
prisoners,
fault the people for being allowed to commit crimes.
Right. So the J6 prisoners shouldn't be in jail. Capitol Police should be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Because they broke the law. They allowed these people to come in. They invited them in. They took down the barriers. They opened the doors. Doors you could not open from the outside. There's no handles on the doors in the Capitol building. They're sealed with very, very powerful magnets. They can only be opened from the inside. And they were.
Yeah.
And they let them in.
Well, I thought there was permits, for the, protesting around the Capitol for what we were doing there. On January 5th and 6th.
There has to be. You can't protest without permission. Huh? What is this now?
Yeah,
you need permission to protest.
Yeah, you got to pay them their fee.
Yep.
Yeah, that's extortion all the way around.
Oh boy. Anna Polo, crazy is right. All right, I'm going to close my Bank of America account. I'm done with them.
I haven't had a Bank of America. I can't even remember if I ever did. I got a call the other day from some person saying they were getting some information for attorneys that wanted to sue me or some civil action against me from a Bank of America credit card that was like 20 years ago. And they're looking for information. I was like, no, you can go pound sand. I'm not going to do anything about that. You go ahead and sue me. Because I know the statute of limitations and all that stuff is 5 years on, I think, a verbal or written contract or 5 or 7, or there's some statute of limitations. But anyway, they were fishing around. Bank of America is corrupt as the day is long, and they're even one of the ones saying recently that the U.S. dollar is getting ready to crash and burn.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Well, they were, and Wells Fargo was, and so is JP Morgan Chase, I think it is. Yeah, they all three of the big banks were they went to the Fed and they said, "What do you mean we have to have 3% asset to loan ratio?" No, we're at zero. We can't do that. Basically, reassuring us that they are indeed insolvent, right? So they don't have your money. And a lot of people are experiencing that. They go to the banks and they say, "Hey, I want to take out $5,000. Well, sir, you need to make an appointment. You need to come back next week." You have to reserve the money? I mean, you don't have it? No, we don't have it. Wow.
And if for years now, people have been buying, silver or paper silver,
Right.
And, Bank of America was one of the ones that was named that is just way upside down in the amount of silver that the paper silver. So if everybody who has, paper silver wants real silver from Bank of America, they don't have it.
They don't have it. Yeah. So it's playing into the narrative that we keep hearing that we're going to have a banking issue, a banking collapse coming soon, another regional bank collapse this week. So it's interesting to pay attention to that, people, and keep cash on hand, as much as you can. Kind of important to do that at this point, as much as you possibly can get out of the bank. You need to make an appointment, though. You need to reserve the cash. They'll have it for you, but it'll take a week. Some people are saying as much as 10 days before they can actually get access to the cash they want. Yeah,
I would come unglued if they told me I had to wait 10 days for my money.
Yep.
They've been having it, and, allegedly making money off of my money. I mean, the whole financial system, it's a Ponzi scheme. The money never goes anywhere. The money isn't really real. It's credits things. If you really dig into some of the really deep rabbit hole research into the way that the money is made or moved around, or as far as mortgages and all this stuff, no money really changes hands.
Very true.
It's all a Ponzi scheme.
Yep. Changes from one column to the other, but there's actually no dollars exchanged, which is interesting.
Right.
Yeah. So, we've been knowing this, and it it's not just like, oh, it's bad news. It's depressing to know. Well, again, you want to be informed. You don't want to be surprised. So we're helping you to be informed rather than be surprised. So, prepare as best you can. There really is, at the end of the day, there is no downside to being prepared. And I think that's really what's important here, is to really understand that. And to say, hey, no, I'm going to do everything I can to protect, as we talked about, first of all, your family, your homestead, right? Protect that first. And then you move out and you say, okay, then we're going to start to look at protecting the neighborhood. And then from the neighborhood, maybe you start protecting, part of the town, the east side, the north side, the south side. And then you can move on to, okay, let's work on the town. Let's get all the neighbors together and start working on that. It's a strategy that I first heard Juan Savin. I know it's not something new. Juan Savin talked about it a year and a half ago, but the other people way before him had talked about it. And it just seemed to make a whole lot of sense. It's like, if this is coming back to us, we got to be prepared. And that's part of the preparedness. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Master Baggy's offered himself. Reach out, Master Baggy. Sometimes there was a troll in my live chat, and he was offering his services to help modulate that, because I can't keep an eye on it.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll work out something. I'll set something up. I don't even know how to make somebody a moderator on my chat. I'm not that important.
You go into the settings in Rumble, and there's a one on the right-hand side that says moderators. Click on that and just put in his handle, and he's a moderator. Real quick, real easy.
Wow, super easy.
Super easy.
You'll learn something new every day.
You do.
That's why I hang around with smart people.
So this is kind of good to see. I grew up in Montreal, right, up in Quebec. And so this is in Rimouski. Rimouski, I think, is an Indian term that says moose, Valley of the Moose, or something like that, something about moose. This is an area in the east side of Quebec, and the farmers are blocking the roads there today. Wow. Good. Canada stepping up. Yeah, I'm all for it.
Better.
I have family up in that area, so I'm going to reach out to them over the weekend and see if I can get any more information. If they could send some photos direct, that would be really good.
This is family that's still talking to you?
Family that still talks to me. Yeah, there's a few that are on our side, believe it or not. I was surprised about that. And the more are coming around, I got to tell you, honestly, there's more of them now coming around because it's a cliche with me, but I'm always ahead of my time. So my nickname when I was in corporate was wise before his years, Rob. Right? That's what people would call me. It's like, you always seem to know what's coming, or, much more wise than most. And it's like, I think I just am a little bit ahead of it sometimes. And I think that's what it was. They just weren't ready to hear what was going on. But now that they're seeing it with their own eyes and experiencing it, now they're coming back around, and they don't say, hey, I should have listened to you. You'll never get that. I don't care about that.
Okay.
But they're like, wow, can you believe what's happening? I can. I kind of expected it. So it's interesting to see that this is kind of happening now over there. And I think we're one step closer to seeing the farmers step up here in the United States.
Oh, yeah. I've had some private conversations with people in the agricultural industry in Kansas and Nebraska. And it's not pretty. The control, the government and the regulations, all that stuff they put on them, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and it's going to come to a point where you have to experience some pain.
Yeah.
When we stand up and protest, we shut the country down. Everybody just doesn't work it can't just make one day, because that's just nothing,
No.
right? It has to be a long, prolonged thing to be able to inflict pain on them, on the ruling elites, to make change. And for us to inflict pain on them, we're going to have to inflict some pain on ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Just that old saying, until the pain of where you're at is greater than the pain of change, then nothing's going to change. The Q stuff, talks about till you reach the precipice of destruction, then nothing will change. So we're going to experience some pain. We just have to prepare for the pain as best we can. So we have to be willing, to shut the country down for a month. Like I've said before, if the truckers, the convoys we've had, the People's Convoy a couple of years ago to D.C., the Canada convoy, that they occupied that thing for a month before the brown shirts came and took them out. Our recent convoy here for the southern border, until trucks just got to shut them off. Just shut off the trucks for a month and a half. We talked about heard some stories about the convoys in New York. Truckers not delivering to New York. I don't know how that's going or how that's working out.
It didn't. Somebody asked about that in the chat just now. I think Lisa did. I think that's the name I saw. Hang on. Let me back up the chat a little bit. I can't find it. Yeah. Lisa. She asked about that. How's that going? And what we heard was that the truckers that did not want to take the loads into New York, they went back up on the board at double or triple the price, and other truckers jumped in and grabbed them. And so all it's going to do, its net result is it's going to raise prices for the residents of New York, but the stuff is being delivered at a higher cost.
Right.
Yeah.
So, if the truckers they don't need to protest, just turn the trucks off. But you have to be willing to endure, the time that's going to take for the ruling elites for them to experience enough pain to make the changes that we the people want. So if there's going to be pain one way or another, might as well get it over with quick. The Benjamins, look at all those freshly printed ones.
They hold this out, and all of a sudden, they motivate people to do what they're going to do. This is Hollywood money, by the way. It's not real money.
Okay, looks like real. Send me some of those.
Yeah, I'll send you a whole pack.
So get arrested for counterfeiting, right?
Yeah, you can't use it for counterfeiting. They don't even feel the same, but they look good on television and on camera. They look great. You look at the money, and people are motivated to really go against their own morals if the money's high enough. And we see that in the music industry and Hollywood and all the rest of it. We were talking about that. Lewis and I were talking about that. How come some people in this community have massive followings and their content sucks as compared to what we do? Doesn't make any sense. Why aren't our followings growing? So there are things we were not willing to do, probably. And if people approached us, and no matter how much money they put on our table to share stories that they wanted to get out there, we're not going to do it. And I think that holds us back because those guys have their finger on the pulse, and they can take, you look at, social media, if they have their finger on the pulse of that, they can take a post and they could boost it all over the place. Everyone sees, and all of a sudden you grow exponentially by the hour. Had enough money, you could do it for yourself, but otherwise you're not. And you got to play by their rules. We refuse to do that. So we're growing, but we're growing slowly. And I think maybe that's the better approach.
Holy God bless America. I wish I'd have done it. I just checked on something. Oh my gosh. So the stock tip.
Uh-huh.
You're talking about people selling out. There was a huge thing about a certain media company being sold, and the stock price at the end of February, at the end of January, right? So we're 1 month, a little over a month, 6 weeks. At the end of January, the last day of January, that stock, it was a penny stock, 25 cents per share. I just looked it up, $1.52.
Whoa.
So you could have what, 6 times your money?
I think it's a 6x, yeah, 600% increase.
6x your money.
Yeah.
So if I'd have put $500 in, I'd get $3,000. Oh man.
That'll buy you a latte.
Yeah. So I mean, I just these things. If you watch and Nancy Pelosi didn't tell me about it either.
Oh boy. All right. Do you have anything fun for us before we wrap up for our week? Literally, I
do.
Tell me.
I do have one video. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I thought I had it pulled up. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah. So it's Girl Scout cookie season, right? Everybody knows the Girl Scout cookies are out there. So this was shared by in our family chat. One of our daughters shared it. My granddaughter's a Girl Scout, so we got suckered in, to supporting the Girl Scouts and buying some cookies. But this, they shared this video. Let me make sure I share the sound. Optimize, share sound, optimize. So here's a